Hello and welcome. I'm Seth Manfield, and today I'm going to be playing Celestia tokens on MTG Arena. This is the deck that I'm going to be playing with, so it's a very straightforward mana base. We've also got 4 copies of Flower Flourish, so that's going to mean that we're pretty likely to have good mana with those 4 flowers, and then this card can also just be an overrun sort of effect later on. And then just a bunch of token generators: Legion's Landing, Saproling Migration, History of Benalia, March of the Multitudes allows you to just make a ton of tokens, potentially. Even our two mana creatures make tokens in Emmara, and then if the Tide Taker dies, we get a token off that. Unbreakable Formation, that's kind of a pump spell. It also provides you with some insurance against Kaya's Wrath. Conclave Tribunal is the most flexible removal spell this deck has access to for game 1s. So we're playing 4 of those. Trostani, Venerated Loxodon, kind of finisher creatures that allow you to pump up your squad. So yeah, a lot of similar cards in the deck, and they work really well together with your go wide strategy. After sideboard, we have Danto Vanguard as a nice creature option if your opponent's on a control deck that doesn't have good answers to a Danto Vanguard. Baffling End is a card that is good against aggro decks primarily. Crawl Harpooner, mono blue, drakes, flyers, it's good there. Knight of Autumn against artifacts and enchantments. Sometimes the life gain is important, and then we've got some planeswalkers. So honestly, this is a pretty streamlined version of the deck, but that doesn't, like, it's a good deck. So I'm excited to be playing it for you all in some best of 3. Now, it has some, it does have vulnerabilities to Goblin Chainwhirler, but there's a lot less Chainwhirlers in best of 3 compared to best of 1. So that's worth taking note of. Yep, we're just going to have to start off with a mulligan. This hand is also pretty bad. I think we have to keep, though. I mean, the double flowers are almost as bad as just having 5 lands in our hand. And then with the March, we really want early creatures to be able to make this good. So something like a History of Benalia, Emmara. Although it looks like our opponent has missed their 3rd land drop, so we're just going to have to cross our fingers that they don't draw that 3rd land, considering our draw is also very bad. We have the option now of flowering. I guess I'm going to do that to get a plains. Probably should have played this forest since our opponent knows we have it, but shouldn't be super relevant. We're just gonna have to. Oh, our opponent did draw the land. Well, that's very bad news. We'd really like a spell we can actually get onto the board this turn. Something like a history. Well, honestly, there's a lot of cheap spells. This rarely happens, but it does look pretty bad when we have draws this bad. So our opponent's going to get the Spellbreaker down, attack us for a bunch. We can march, get a token, and then play. So we're not going to chump. We're just going to take this hit. And then now we draw a thing we could have cast earlier, of course. Yeah, I'm just gonna play Trostani. We may very well just lose on the next turn. So I'm thinking about whether we want to send this lifelinker, or we can also hold it on defense. Yeah, I'm gonna hold it on defense. So if our opponent, I mean, there's a very small chance that we could get out of this. Our opponent's probably thinking about potential attacks. Cards that they could have include Shock, Collision, Colossus. That's a pump spell. Now we can gain a bunch of life with the tokens. So that's the good thing. So it looks like they eventually decided to go ahead and make an attack. Well, we're definitely gonna make a bunch of blocks. I think we just block with everything, including the Trostani. Not positive if we're supposed to risk Trostani here, though. Maybe we're not. Alright, what if we don't block with Trostani? Guess we're still gaining 10. Alright, I'm not gonna risk the Trostani. Because it is pretty important if we're gonna be making more tokens to try to keep it in play. So our opponent could just adapt the Growth Chamber Guardian on board. Looks like they're going to go for Shock. Not super unhappy about that. I mean, it's not great for us, but it's also could be way worse for us. So we're hoping to set up a nice March turn. Although drawing History, I think we probably have to play History and hope not to die. We're definitely playing the Legion's Landing. That gets us another lifelinker. Actually, I am going to Flower. Flower's going to give us an extra land for next turn if we survive and are able to march. Unfortunately, there's not really going to be a good there's really no good opportunity to play the Loxodon. Because we just fell so far behind not doing anything in the early turns. Alright, so our opponent's attacking with both of the Gruul Spellbreakers. The question here, I think, is do we block with our Trostani or not? It's definitely really good, but we might have to risk it in order not to just die. Collision Colossus is a card that would be really good here. Could also just block like this. I guess I'll do that. I just don't want to risk the Trostani. Not sure if it's right or wrong. But getting to March on this next turn with Trostani in play is pretty nice. So we're just gonna pass. We can March for 5. So this is going to allow us to have 10 tokens that can gain us a bunch of life, which is really nice. I think we're incentivized to block pretty aggressively here on at least the pelt collectors, I think. Well, Alright, I'm going to double block this pelt collector. I guess, and also double block a goblin. Single block the elves. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. We'll see. Our opponent could have Collision Colossus. Looks like they had a Lightning Strike. Okay. So a bunch of things trade off there. Man, this game has gotten pretty interesting. So we're still hanging in there. We can actually flip our Legion's landing. Could Loxodon, but I kind of want to flip the landing. Yeah, I think I'm gonna flip the Legion's landing here. Not sure if I'm supposed to attack with this Trostani or not. Probably not. And wow, we actually won that. I was almost certain that we weren't going to. That's kind of how it was seeming. Okay. Well, sweet. So there's definitely a few different Gruul variants that are out there. I think we want to board in the Baffling Ends and take out... I think Baffling End is the only card. Taking out... Tide Taker is fine, but not anything exceptional. So I'm fine with shaving a couple of those and then like the formations allow us to kind of have a big attack. So I think we keep the 2 unbreakable formations in our deck. I'm going to take out 1 copy of Legion's Landing. pretty happy I didn't risk these Trostani at all that game. It was pretty tempting too. Anyways, quick mulligan. One land hand there. This is fine. I think we keep the Baffling End. Emmara's really strong if our opponent does not immediately get rid of it. Which often happens. But we may just want to Baffling End the Spellbreaker. Looks like they will haste it up. So yeah, I think I'm going to Baffling End it. I wonder if our opponent's considering giving the Goblin haste. Ooh, they are. Super aggressive line. Normally, I think with that one, you want to make it a 3-3, but we'll see how it works out. Alright. Well, we're taking a ton of damage. But we definitely don't want to block with the Emmara. It's just too powerful. So, how best not to die? Well, I'm gonna attack. That's gonna give us a lifelink soldier. And then I think we just have to Baffling End. Like we could Loxodon, if we play Loxodon, we're just dead. If we march for 2, I don't think that's necessarily going to win us the game. I think we want to Baffling End the Spellbreaker. Not knowing what our opponent's last card is, that last card definitely could just end the game here pretty easily. If it's not, if they don't have anything, certainly have a chance. I'll trade for the elf. So we're effectively going to 2 here. And now we can march. In fact, do we have to march? Let's see. I guess we don't have to. I could just hard cast a Venerated Loxodon. Or even Tribunal one of the goblins. Maybe just playing the Loxodon is right, because if our opponent bricks another time, we are actually suddenly in a pretty good spot. Okay. Kind of talking myself into this play. Because I don't love using the march and then just having to block with all the tokens. Not that I love this play either. Still dead to a number of cards. If our opponent doesn't have any of those cards that kill us, any haste creature, any burn spell. Okay, they drew Vivian. That
how this thing goes is to you. Feel the wrath of Scala.
They're gonna get rid of a Baffling End. Okay. Wow, we drew Trostani for the turn. Things are getting really interesting this game. I have to keep in mind that this dinosaur does have trample. Well, okay. We could play Trostani if we want to. I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to play... Well... Yeah, I'm not positive on this. But I'm going to get Trostani onto the battlefield. And I think... we just want to start sending some creatures at Vivian. Yeah, I'm gonna send the Loxodon at Vivian. So now we can Tribunal, get the Vivian off the board, get a token off Emmara, and then just hope that our opponent bricks for another turn. Which I think is correct. Sorry, my time... I wish I had more time to think, because this is pretty difficult. But we're just going to hope our opponent bricks on their draw step. Not positive this was correct. I probably shouldn't have attacked with the Venerated Loxodon there. But yeah, our opponent's dead. Okay. Yeah, I think I should have just made that play, but not attacked with the Loxodon, because that attack didn't really actually accomplish much. Well, that was a sweet match, though. A really sweet one. Our opponent kind of got the raw end of it, both games, and it felt like both games we got pretty lucky to win. But game one, our draw was just really bad. And then game two, they had a really good draw, but they just didn't have like that last, they just needed one more like good spell basically at the end there. So unlike previous games where we really valued our Trostani, here we have two of them, and they are legendary creatures. It's really the most expensive. Ooh, that is a great draw. Sacred Foundry from our opponent. Not sure what that means, but yeah, it's really the most expensive card in the deck is Emmara. I mean, not Emmara, Trostani. Oh, okay. So our opponent's bricking off our attacks, but we continue to seem to draw pretty well as we found this Tribunal. I think I am gonna flower and just Conclave the Daredevil. And that's gonna net us a token so that next turn we can potentially flip our Legion's Landing. And if we do that, we can then cast Trostani after attacks. So it kind of depends what our opponent plays. So yeah, history. I think we just make our attack and then get Trostani on the board. That lava coil is actually just perfect for us because we have the second Trostani. I wouldn't have necessarily ran out the Trostani when I did if there wasn't a second one in hand. And now we just have a beautiful attack with all of our creatures. So our opponent's playing really a deck that I'm not, you know, not a standard list by any means. Naya tokens type deal. I don't know that we want to change much in our deck. Like, we could board in Baffling End for a Danto Vanguard, but I don't even know that they're going to keep in a Danto Vanguard. Maybe it's better than Tribunal, but we just don't have that much information on what our opponent's playing. I think we probably want these Knight of Autumns. Tide Taker is a card I'm fine with cutting. So I guess I will board in the Baffling Ends and the Knight of Autumns. Vivian, I think we don't need that. It's pretty expensive on the draw. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this. Certainly might make some adjustments if we get to a game 3. This hand is pretty much what we're looking for most games. Would be insane if we were on the play with it. We are not. So question is, do we want to flower here? We might just draw a bunch of lands, and we already have 3 lands, so I think I'm not going to. Because the flourish is pretty nice. Could Baffling in the Knight. Could also just... Getting our history down is pretty good. And we don't really mind the Emmara trading because we have another one in hand. So I think we're just playing history here. Maybe I should have cast I'm kind of wishing I had just flowered now, having drawn this Baffling End. Well, we're gonna flower in a moment. I think I am gonna... This is gonna be an interesting game. I'm gonna get in there and see if our opponent wants to block. They might value their knights more than our knights. But I think we're just also going to play another history here. It's either another history or we can Emmara plus Loxodon, which is also really strong as well. That might actually just be better than playing a second history. Alright. I think it is actually better. Normally I don't decline playing my second history after the first one. This is a very rare circumstance, though. And if we draw a land, we can just jam Trostani. So a land just might be game over. I think we take this. Like I could chump, I could block. I'm not going to though, because the upside of our attack is very, very real on our next turn, even though this race is pretty convoluted. Okay. Well, a land makes things pretty easy for us if we draw it. We don't have a little bit more to consider. So we didn't draw it. I think we're still making a big attack, though. So I'm just going to hold back the 1/1 as a chump blocker. We get another 1/1 here from the Emmara. And how our opponent blocks is going to kind of depend whether it's best to just play history or to go migration plus baffling end. But I think we're in a good spot. I mean, I don't know what our opponent's last two cards are. It would have been, yeah, if we play Trostani this turn, we just kind of win the game, but I think we're still pretty far ahead. Okay. Interesting. So these things do get a little bit annoying. So I think I'm just going to baffling end one of them now. This still puts us in a situation where if we draw a land for Trostani, it's absolutely absurd for us. Not sure that Tajik actually changes things. So this can get first strike. Alright, well I think we just trade off for the 4/3s with our with our 3/3s. Our opponent attacked with a lot of stuff. I think they might just be dead on the crackback, right? Yeah, I'm just going to block like this. So our opponent is dead on the crackback unless they have something. I don't even know what it would have to be. Yeah, the lava coil, they're still just dead. So we don't need this Trostani, but it is a way of making it extra lethal. Getting some sweet cards for my wins here. Always nice. Alright, this seems pretty good. Emmara, I mean, having 2 drops just feels... Emmara is so silly in the deck when you have it. Just gonna play it here. Getting to make a 1/1 lifelink soldier against 2 1s matches up really nicely. Okay, so we can just tribunal this, which is what I'm gonna do. Even though we have other options like history, I prioritize getting Emmara going, and this is one way to do it. And then the soldier is really, really great on defense. I'm okay with trading Emmara off here because we get a token off of it. I think, although maybe I'm supposed to sit on it for the full value. Could just Tide Taker and Loxodon. Then Emmara becomes a 3/3 and we get another. Yeah, that seems actually really good. That's just right. Sometimes you see a good play, but it's correct to look for a better play. So even though trading the Emmara off is okay, now it just becomes an even bigger threat. Well, that was actually pretty good for our opponent. I will say that. That makes our life quite a bit more difficult. The fact that they had that Loxodon maybe should have been considering that more. If we attack with everything, we get in for 10, gain some life. One of our creatures dies, probably the Emmara. I'm gonna do it though. I think this is a pretty close game here. Because we still need to we can draw, there's a number of things we can draw into that are insane. Like if we draw March, if we draw Trostani. History is good. I think we're just casting that and passing. We'll wait for the history to go off. Ooh. Alright, some history on history violence. Wow. All of the histories, huh? Alright, so we have a bunch of 4/3s. These protect each other. I guess we're incentivized to just trade these trade off for bodyguards. Loxodon maybe trades off. I think that's still okay. The Tide Takers are potentially good blockers for our opponent's attacks. Alright, so yeah, a bunch of stuff as predicted trades off. If they have a Benelish Marshal here, it would make things a little bit tricky. In this case, we just have pretty straightforward blocks, I think. Could also kill off this other knight with a double block. I'm not going to, though. We're still at a reasonably high life total. And we want to make sure our board is still pretty sizable, which it is. Okay. So that was definitely a brick. It's okay, though. We're still just in the market for trading off our knights. So if we draw flower, or if we can now flourish as well. So basically any of our go wide draws here are really good. Sky Marcher Aspirant, so now our opponent has blockers for us. So we can, once again, we have this double block option. Although, if we take it, we go to 9. Which isn't the worst. Not actually sure if we're supposed to double block. I'm going to, but I've low confidence that it was correct, but I like being at a pretty high life total. I'm just gonna send this knight, which might potentially trade for either 2 creatures or for the Snubhorn. It looks like it's going to trade for 2 creatures. Nope, going to trade for the Snubhorn. I want to keep 3 creatures in play in case we draw Legion's Landing and want to attack. Wow, Benelish Marshal. Can't really do anything about that. Alright, not the best draw, but not the worst draw. We get a bunch more dudes. No March of the Multitudes or anything, but it means that we still have a lot of really good draws available to us. I think we want to double block this Aspirant. And then I'm going to take the knight one more turn. Take this hit. Our opponent's definitely top decking better. That's for sure. We still have a lot of good draws. Interesting that our opponent would want to risk their Marshal. Looks like they thought better of it. If I don't block here, yeah, I have to block on the knight, I think, because then we're not just automatically dead next turn if we don't draw something. There it is. That is what we wanted. Wow, that might have just been in the nick of time. That's crazy. So our opponent has 4 damage here. Or 5 damage in the air that we can't do anything about. So I guess if they drew another Marshal, we would be dead. I guess I'll just do it now before blocks. Might as well. So we've got... It's for 1, 2, 6 for 9, I believe, if I counted that right. Might have been off by 1 there. I don't think so. No. It is for 9. I think that's... Yep. Wow. March was the card we were kind of waiting for that whole game. Eventually it came. Right when we were about to die. Alright, I'm going to board in Baffling and... Night of Autumn. Being on the draw, I don't think we want anything else besides those cards. So we're just going to be kind of shaving some stuff. Cut a Legion's Landing. One Tribunal. I think Unbreakable Formations are just cuttable. And a Sapperling Migration. So just kind of shaving some cards. This is basically a 6-land hand. I think we're going to mulligan that. Ooh, boy. I think we have to go to 5 here. This is... Yeah, this is bad. Alright, well... I think this is the best of those hands. But we still need to draw green for the Emmara. The Cotley's good against us, for sure. We did board in Baffling In to deal with it, but it's a strong card. Alright. So I think, yeah, it's just history here. We're pretty far behind on both cards and board, so I don't love our chances. Our opponent's going to get to transform the Legion's Landing. More Danto action, huh? Alright, well, this is a big attack. I wish we could double block the Tecatli. Don't think we can... We necessarily can. We'd be taking 9... Yeah, we'd just be dead if we did that. Could double block a Snuphorn. Although I don't really like the idea of losing our creatures here. I guess I'll just block a Tecatli. We'd be taking 12. Yeah, I think we're pretty dead. But I'll do this block anyway. Might as well get in an attack here. Can't play Trostani this turn. So I'm just going to play Emmara, play land. We can march for pretty reasonable number, 4. Actually, we can only march... I just remembered the Tide Taker. Maybe we were supposed to do this on our turn, although if we did, it would have given our opponent so much information. So if we march for... Yeah, if we march for 3, we are not just dead. So I guess we have to march for 3 because of the Tide Taker. If they have a counterspell here, then the game's over, of course. Okay. So yeah, maybe I should have done it on my turn. I wonder how the game would have played out if I had just marched for 4 there. I think we're still pretty far behind. They're not gonna attack with their Tecatli. The Tecatli bricks off the Trostani. Interesting game. Well, I don't think we're changing too much. Being on the play, we still have 6 total removal spells for Tecatli. I'm just going to resubmit. I think if we were on the play that game... Well, keep in mind, we were on 5 cards that game, and it feels like we were almost at the point where we could turn the corner. So I'm definitely going to just go ahead and flower for a forest. Considering we have so much removal, I'm just going to go ahead and Baffling in the Snuphorn as well. So double march is potentially very powerful. We have to think about removal spells, or sorry, counter spells that our opponent might have. Looks like they're going to tribunal our history. That's actually pretty good for us, because we have a tribunal. We can tribunal back the history, and that works out pretty nicely. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that play. And that's why I don't normally recommend tribunaling a card with an... Essentially, this is essentially an enter the battlefield effect. And if you think about it that way, it's not something you really want to be tribunaling. I'm just going to take that hit. Could Baffling End the Tide Taker is one play we have available. Night of Autumn is pretty good. Could also march, just march right here. Just march main phase for 3. Potentially forces in a gate. I'll do it. Alright, Disdainful Stroke. I'm fine with just making our opponent use the counter and put them down to only 1 card left in hand. 0 cards now. They do get to deal us a bunch of damage with that Unbreakable formation, though. I think I want to Baffling End the Tide Taker now. Don't really want to allow it to trade. And then allow... That would give our opponent a flyer that could be annoying. So it'll be interesting to see if they wanted to trade the bodyguards, but it looks like no. But now they're all the way down to 6, so that's questionable. Yeah. This is a pretty good matchup, generally speaking, for Selesnya, and I think it showed here. So I guess we are 3-0 at this point, I believe, if I'm counting correctly. Gonna play 5 total matches for you all. Well, this is not the hand we wanted. Definitely, we've had to mulligan our fair share in these matches and still winning, despite all of the mulligans. It looks like our opponent is currently considering their options. And they did end up taking a mulligan, so we are going to do the same. This is much better. Definitely want the Loxodon on top. We can potentially get that out pretty quickly. Although basic islands, that could be most likely mono blue. Could be drakes. We'll probably know in a minute. Yeah, so it's going to be mono blue. I'm just going to go ahead and plan on casting this migration. Uh-oh. That is bad news. Well, our opponent's going to be drawing 2 cards a turn. We don't have a way to really answer that. So I can play History, can also Legion's Landing plus Loxodon, but the problem is that our opponent is pretty likely to have a counter. I think we just play the History here. Alright, Spell Pierce, that's kind of unfortunate. Now I'm definitely wishing I had, if that was their only counter spell, I'm wishing maybe I had gone for a different play. But against the mono blue deck, you're just kind of guessing in terms of what counters they might have in hand. We're going to run out our Legion's Landing. Feel like we just kind of have to hope now that the Loxodon resolves. All right. Well, this is how you lose to mono blue. Our hand was good too. Ooh. That's not bad. I guess I can go to combat. Flip the landing. Yeah, we'll flip the landing. I guess I'm just going to try to tribunal away this Siren Storm Tamer. It seems fairly unlikely to work, but we at least have mana to get around Spell Pierce. If our opponent has a dive down... Alright, well actually, we could just take out the Obsession itself. If we wanted to play around dive down here. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. I think I'm just trying to resolve this March of the Multitudes. Could also just a Danto. Opponent might have another Trickster though. I'm just gonna pass. Feels like they're fairly likely to have a counterspell. Certainly it's not guaranteed though. But I'm gonna respect a counter. Even though I don't know that we can afford to respect a counter, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Alright, well, I feel like the time has come where we just kind of have to do it. We could also Adanto and just start, like, chipping in for attacks, I guess. If we... yeah, I guess that's a play that is defensible. Yeah, that was a mistake. I was supposed to... yeah, sorry about that. I was supposed to activate... well, I was supposed to activate the Adanto, although this does still give us the option to march, which is kind of good. But yeah, I was supposed... that was definitely a punt. I was supposed... I meant to make a different play. If we had... we're actually still in this, and if I had one more vampire, it would actually be much better for us. This is kind of wow, is our opponent just passing now? What is going on? That is unexpected. Actually, I think we're just attacking first before this Emmara. Because we don't want any +1/+1 counters put on our opponent's creatures. This is crazy. I thought for sure we were losing this race. Alright, there's a dive down. That makes sense. So our opponent did have these dive downs, which makes me feel a lot better about the Conclave Tribunal turn. Alright, so they're going for this essence capture. I guess I march for 4. I think. Yeah. Ugh. That's brutal. Darn it. Our opponent really had what they needed there. I can't help but think maybe I should have... I don't know if they had the Wizard's Lightning, so it's possible that I could have just marched for a bunch earlier. Not the Wizard's Lightning, Wizard's Retort. That's the main deck hard counter. Because I was thinking about marching earlier to play around Spell Pierce. I think this is a pretty good attack by our opponent. Yeah, I think that's a good attack. So we could... I don't know that we want to migration for the maximum, because then we can't activate our Adanto. I guess I'm just going to do it for just for 2. Alright, so they did have a retort. Maybe they just had everything. I guess the biggest punt was the Adanto when I doubled up on that accidentally. Kind of legend ruled myself out of this one. Because I feel like just having that one more token might have been the difference in this game. Well, we have to send everything, or else we are just dead to what our opponent's got. So that puts us up to 5. Play out this Emmara. Dang it. Oh, that's brutal. That is brutal. Really, really close game. Definitely feel like there was a line there that could have won that game. But that was only game 1, so I'm gonna try not to get too down about it, even though it stings to lose that one. I'm gonna board in the Harpooners for sure, and the Baffling Ends. And I'm going to take out one of the landings. A couple copies of Migration as well. The Unbreakable formations come out. And I am going to take out 1 copy of Conclave Tribunal. Removal is pretty good against them, but I'm going to take out 1. So yeah, the Essence, everything in that game just was so bizarre. That was one of the weirdest games I've played. Probably could have won. But mono blue deck, the mono blue deck is, I mean, that's part of the reason why the deck is so good, right? Like, it is hard to try to navigate around every little thing that deck does. And even though I made 1 misclick that was the major punt, but beyond that, I actually thought I played pretty well. Even though we probably could have won. So turn 2 Emmara, this game is sweet. We have a really good draw this game. I'd be fairly surprised if we lost. Alright, so our opponent has the Trickster to trade with Emmara, but we still get this additional creature, so it's pretty good for us, and then we get to play the history. So now our opponent's just behind, right? Like, they have not started with an obsession, and it doesn't hurt that we have a lot of gas in hand. So the question is, do we want to history or to Loxodon? I kind of like playing Just gonna play out the history, I think. I could get Spell Pierce, though. But I mean, yeah, I'm gonna play it out. Alright, so our opponent... Our opponent didn't have anything for that. Should probably just send the 1 token, although it looks like our opponent just doesn't have anything. So, well, yeah, I guess I play this even though our opponent probably has an Essence Capture. It seems like we just want to make them use it so that we can Trostani. Like, it seemed like almost certain that there was an Essence Capture there, and that's fine. Well, there's a March. Yeah, our opponent's just dead. March is also another card you can shave on it. Although it's really good, but like sometimes you have you put yourself into awkward situations with it. Knight of Autumn is interesting in the matchup because you can use it to get rid of Obsession. But yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of choices to make with the deck. I'm gonna board in the 4th Tribunal. On the draw, I feel like we are probably behind on the draw in just your average game, and then we're ahead on the play. This is a keep. Alright, well, if they have the Obsession, let's hope they don't have Obsession into counter, because that's just the nut draw if they were to have that here. Looks like they do not. So, few options. I'm going to try for the Tide Taker. Essence Capture is the best counter that they could have. Wizard's Retort also does it. Okay. Well, now I think we just have to Baffling End and hope. Alright, well they're opting, I guess they might have dived down, but if not, they should have opted in response to the Baffling End to try to find a Spell Pierce, if they were going to be playing Opt that turn. Okay, Tempest Djinn, that is a scary follow-up for sure. So this is going to be a race. Hopefully our opponent has... Well, we know that they didn't have a counter spell earlier. Oh, that's rough. Alright. I'm gonna start by attacking. It looks like we are trying to figure out a way. Well, we have to cast this Migration. We also have to hope our opponent just has nothing, which they almost certainly have something. If we marched for... We can march for... If we had... we're so close to being able to do everything we want. We'd like to be able to march here for 5, and then that would allow us to also Loxodon If we march, if we Loxodon, we can only play one Loxodon. So we would have to top deck something, and this is all under the assumption that our opponent doesn't have anything here. I don't know if we're winning a game where we're just marching for 4, because then our next turn is actually just not that good. They could also have a Spell Pierce. I'm going to go with this Venerated Loxodon play. Give us a nice big board. I don't think I don't think it's going to win us this game, but well, if they're thinking they have an Essence Capture, that is rough. If I thought 4 additional 1/1 lifelinkers would, and we just don't have we do not have the 6th land for the flourish, so yeah, we just got tempoed out here. Tempoed out game 3, which can happen, and then the game 1 was just really, really swingy. Alright, well, once again we are taking a mulligan. Seems to be a theme. And this hand is also quite bad. We don't have any threats. I think we have to mulligan this as well, honestly. As bad as rough as it is. Our opponent went to 6 as well. Went to 6. Can't go lower than 6. So we're gonna have to hope to draw some lands here. I mean, can't go lower than 5. I think I said 6. Anyways, the 6 was borderline. It was very borderline. I can, you know, it wasn't great. This 5 is also bad though, so we just haven't had any good hands. Right here, Duress, yeah. Could be playing against Emmara, which is a deck that I am quite fond of. And I respect. So, mad props to our opponent for ripping our hand apart. I love it. I mean, I hate it because we're going to probably lose to it, but I love it in that. The Emmara deck, for those who don't know, is the deck that I played at the Mythic Championships. And I've written about the deck, I've talked about the deck, so it is a deck that I like, and it looks like our opponent is playing, well, alright, never mind, there's a Plains. So they are playing not Emmara, something else, but they've played, all of the cards they've played have seem to be Emmara, so the Plains is kind of off-putting. I guess they do have Teferi in their deck, and that would make sense. Well, we'll wait and see. Ooh, Basilica Belhaunt. Well, that's quite bad for us. Oh. Sorry about that. We won't be attacking into that Belhaunt. So this could just be the Esper mid-range. Yeah, it looks like it's the Esper mid. Which is kind of a bad matchup because they have Deputy of Detentions normally, which is crazy good against our deck. Alright, well, I saw enough to know that we're not winning this game. Our draw was just so bad, we weren't going to beat anything there. The question is how we want to sideboard. I generally like the Planeswalker plan here. We did see Thief of Sanity. We don't know if they'll keep in their Thieves or not. But we did see our opponent mill one, I think. Maybe. So, Adanto Vanguard could do that. I think Tide Taker is not that great in this matchup. Harpooner. The fact that Harpooner and Baffling End are both reasonable. I'm going to board in the Harpooners. Take out some of our tokeny stuff because of the deputies. All right, we have a 7 we can keep, so that's good. Wow, we have a 7 and our opponent mulliganed. That's a change of pace. So definitely a decision point here. Although we just drew Emmara, which is, I think, just the play now. I normally just jam Emmara on 2 when it's an option. Alright. Our opponent just had the answer to it. That's unfortunate. Just gonna make some dudes. Wow. I guess our opponent just has everything, huh? We'll pitch this Unbreakable Formation. I guess I'm gonna Conclave Tribunal this, because I don't know. I mean, sure, they technically, you know, could have removal for the Tribunal to then get their Bellhaunt back, but don't think I'm playing around much at this point. So I can just play out the Loxodon. I think I'll do that. Alright, well, hopefully those last 3 cards aren't great, but it looks like Teferi. Oh, gosh. They can minus on our Tribunal here. Yeah. That's just brutal. That's brutal. Absolutely brutal. Obviously, our attacks into this Orzhov Enforcer do not look good. So yeah, this is out of the decks we played against, this is very clearly the bad matchup. Matchup is not good. I guess we know we're drawing this Conclave Tribunal, which we can use to take out the Teferi. So our opponent just floods out. Oh, no, they... Alright, now we are dead. We are now dead. Well, that was pretty convincing the other way, but... Anyways, thanks everyone for watching the videos. I like this Celestia deck quite a bit. Hopefully you learned something, and I know I learned something, so...